Hello there. So good to have you back on this conversation that I've started with the author, Joshua Oyetunde. This episode is going to be very, very interesting. I hope you did learn a thing or two from the last episode. We would like to hear from you. Drop a comment if there are questions you'd like to ask as well. Feel free to drop your questions and we'll definitely read them out and answer them in our next episode. Just in case you've not been able to lay hands on the book is available right now on seller.co. Just look for the name Joshua Oyetunde and you will have the book just right there. Order for yourself, order for your friends and family. Read, digest, and learn a thing or two. What we are doing here is to throw more insight into what is already in the book. Of course, we won't be able to digest the entirety of the book in just a podcast. However, we thought it necessary to share some of the lessons in the book with you. And that is why we are back here again. So welcome. They call me Fresh Boy, but I am Sonny Onachi. I am your host on the host of the author. And I'm hosting the author of this very fantastic book, a very seasoned seaman, an author, and one who is passionate about the industry, a gospel music minister, and I call him a pastor as well. He might not have been ordained a pastor, but he's the pastor. I know the hand of God is upon his life because you can feel it, you can see it. Anytime you are with him, he reels out very powerful words and, very inspirational words, and your life around him will always be touched by his life. He's humble, he's calm, but he's loaded. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So before we delve, last week I told us that we would be looking into documentations and a few other things, coming into the industry. However, I feel the need that we didn't exhaust in totality the risk of coming into the sea.
Yes.
And I feel we should be able to capture some of those things on this very episode before we delve into the new topic. So last time you only talked about one.
Yeah.
We
talk about seclusion.
Seclusion, yeah. So I would like you to delve into a few of the other things. Right. Risk of coming into the sea. So as much as the benefits are sweet to the ears, please pay attention to the risk of coming into the sea.
All right. Apart from the one we mentioned last episode, other challenges that we have on the ship, I call it the hazards and hazardous environment. All right. There are hazards that we need to be aware of.
Okay.
All right. So if you are coming to sea, let's take for a starter, the ship environment is not stable.
Okay.
So now we are seated here and everything is stable. On the ship environment is not stable because it's on the water. Your ship is on the water body. Okay, so on the water. So if we are in port, everything looks calm. All right, but the moment you move to sea, nothing is stable.
Okay,
and that changes the dynamics of many things. So which means something. If you are at home now, you can just lift something like this and you just drop it down. But if you are lifting the same thing on the ship that is moving, it means that thing will be going like this, will be coming like this. And that in itself can be a reason for somebody getting injured.
Right.
All right? So
right.
A ship that is moving is always vibrating. Like this. So throughout the period of your time on the sea, if your ship is constantly moving, this is how you are vibrating. Your blood, even when you are asleep.
System.
Yeah. So that's even if the ship is stable, that's if the sea is calm. Not to talk of when the sea is now not calm.
So there is turbulence in the sea.
So when the ship starts, we say the ship is rolling. There are different types of ship movement. One of them is called rolling. That ship will be moving from side to side like this. So if the weather is bad, you can have combination of different movements. There will be time ship will just come out of water and slam down. There will be time you'll be running like this. There are times, especially if you're on ballast passage. Ballast passage means you have discharged your cargo and you are coming back. You don't have goods now, so the ship is lighter.
Yeah.
And so the sea, the weather can control you and be driving you up and down. So you are practically not stable. All right. So imagine you being subjected to that for a period of 10 months.
I understand.
And all that.
Yeah.
And so that in itself constitutes to hazardous environment. All right. Not to talk about the ship. What's the cargo that the ship is carrying? All right. So for example, ships that are carrying chemicals, ammonia, LNG, you need to be aware of the dangers. I mean, for example, if you have an LNG spill right now, if your hand touches, LNG is carried as minus 162 degrees.
Wow.
So if minus 162 touches your finger, that finger is as good as gone. All right? It will become black immediately, and it will break like glass. If your ship is carrying ammonia, these are dangerous chemicals. You understand? So if you get exposed to any one of them, you are gone. You understand? So these are dangers. So which, of course, there are trainings that you have to go through, but these things happen. Accident happens here and again. There are dangerous environment where we work. Again, seafaring is one of those jobs that is most hazardous. Mortality rate, I mean, it's captured in the book. We went into the details in the book. In some countries, rank if not the most job with the accident rate. Yeah. All right. So if you are working in the engine room, for example, now you have a lot of pipe works. It's more like, the engine room is like a factory. All right. So you have a lot of pipe works, and all of the pipe work, they are live. So it's not like, oh, this pipe now there's nothing inside. They are alive. As you have one pipe carrying steam, you have one pipe carrying oil, you have one pipe carrying water, and those things. So they are running concurrently. And impact on one can affect all of that, and then shut down the whole ship. And I mean, if you are lucky, you get shut down in the middle of the open sea, that's fine. What about if you get affected in the middle of traffic where other ships are close to you? You can have an accident with another ship.
Wow.
You understand? So those are the part of the risk that you have when you come to sea. I mean, it goes on and on. You get to go ashore as well, right?
Yeah.
We talk about you having opportunity to go ashore, but then if you go ashore, there are times and occasions whereby people contact other diseases from going to other territories. You understand? So these are part of the. I mean, there are port health and all those things that do all these checks, but sometimes these things they still escape them.
Yeah, right.
You understand? During COVID, some people got COVID. I mean, on the ship, the whole crew on the ship got COVID. You will have thought that ship will be safe, but apparently somebody from ashore came on board with COVID, or maybe somebody on the ship went ashore and then caught COVID and brought it back to everyone. And infected everybody. They had to check everybody on the ship. You understand? So these things happen. So these are the part of things that you get exposed to as seafarer. So
I just hope this hasn't made you change your mind. Because when you hear benefits, it's really interesting. But of course, people still thrive in the industry even with this. Yeah. So if they can, you too can. Yes. But it's good to have the knowledge ahead of time because it prepares you from most of the hazards that he has mentioned. So let's quickly go into this other conversation because there's so much to talk about. Documentation necessary for going on board. What kind of documentations are required, just as you've listed out in the book?
Okay.
Just so that we can highlight them.
The documents that you're going to need will vary depending on your level, your rank, what exactly your responsibility on the ship. You understand? But if you are just coming to sea, if you are just the first time on the ship, there are what we call mandatory certificates. This is mandatory. As long as you are working on the ship, you are supposed to have mandatory certificate. All right? And these mandatory certificates, they basically prepare you for the basic that every seafarer should know. So we have things like personal survival techniques. You have to have mandatory in that. You have to have firefighting and fire prevention. That's one of the mandatories you need to have, how to fight fire. Because in the middle of the sea, you have no firefighter you're going to call. And if the fire breaks out, you need to learn the basics of how to attack fire. In case you find yourself, the captain say, okay, everybody go and let's abandon this ship. How are you going to survive? So that's why we have the personal survival techniques. You have elementary first aid. How do you administer first aid? There is no doctor on board in some cases because as per requirement, if the ship doesn't have more than 100, you may not be required to carry a medical doctor. If you don't have more than 100 passengers on board or persons on board, you are not required to have a medical doctor on board. So basically, you are trained to be self-sufficient. You understand? And most of this mandatory stuff, It has really been helpful for me personally, even at home.
Okay.
You understand?
You start applying those things that you've learned basically at
Yeah.
home.
So then you need to have the personal. There's what we call PSSR as well, personal safety and social responsibility. So you also must have this certificate, irrespective of your rank. These are certificate you are required to have, and they are renewed every 5 years. All right. So you must renew them every 5 years. Then of course there's security awareness.
Okay.
You must have. There's a mandatory on that, and you must
Okay,
have.
those ones you get them before. Are there organizations that maybe someone who is watching now, will get to know before getting?
All
those
right, so these
documentation?
certificates you can get. There are school. You can get it from schools,
Okay.
maritime schools, or maritime training institutions.
Okay.
So we have them in Nigeria. If you go to NIMASA website, for example, you see the list of accredited
Okay.
organizations that can do it within Nigeria and outside, depending on the certificate that you are pursuing.
Okay.
You understand? So, for example, if you have a license in Nigeria, for example, you know that it affects where you are going to get yours from.
Okay.
If you have a license from the UK, for example, now, UK does not accept certain certificate from some countries.
Okay.
So for example, now if you have a UK license and you are doing mandatories in Nigeria, the UK government will not accept that.
Okay.
You understand? So they will not accept it. So you need to find out what countries UK UK government have relationship with, and then do your mandatories from them. So you need to find out what country or what country is acceptable to the country that is issuing your license. So you have to understand that. Of course, you need to have a valid medical certificate as well. Okay, I talked about it in the last episode.
Yes.
Where you have to be fit.
Yes.
And that fit is just not. I will go to hospital and the doctor have to certify that you are fit. All right. So, and then you have a medical declaration to that effect that you are fit to sail for the next 2 years.
Are there specific hospitals that you are likely to go to so that people don't fake it?
Good question. So every administration that is issuing a license has an approved
Hospital.
doctors.
Okay.
Approved doctors who are certified to check people.
Okay.
And these doctors have hospitals where they operate.
Okay.
You understand?
That clears it.
So that was a good question actually. So they have approved. Like I have a UK license. So each UK government, they have an approved persons, approved hospitals where you can do your ENG. We call it ENG. But there is what matter most is medical certificate.
Okay.
You understand? And it's renewed every 2 years. And of course, you must have a discharge book.
Okay. Please explain the discharge.
The discharge book is actually a book that contains basically your history of seagoing experience.
Okay.
So when you entered the ship, when you left, which rank did you serve in? So it basically documents your history at sea. So it documents your history of service at sea. Basically, that's what that book is about. So you must apply for one, and you must have a passport apparently. And then I have.
When you say passport,
international passport.
Okay, because I know I have a small passport.
So I've had, on occasion, in my own experience, it was when we had a scholarship to go to UK. That was when I now realized that I needed a passport.
Wow.
So many people don't know this, and then so my parents now started running around to get money so that I can do my passport. You understand? So which, of course, many people don't know that. So my advice is for cadets, for people who want to come to sea, is while you are still in school, before anything, have that.
Okay.
In fact, recently somebody called me, he's looking for a place for COS, he's looking for a place where he would do his IT and all that, maybe on the ship and all that. I said, do you have international passport? He doesn't have. I said, my brother, you cannot work on the ship. That in itself streamline you. It limits your opportunity.
It limits you, yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So you must have international passport, your discharge book, your mandatories and all that before you come on board.
So for someone who is coming for an IT, as like this example you just gave now, you need all of these documentations required.
So
apart from the certifications.
Now, if you are coming for IT and you intend to sail, you can come for IT and be in an office and not go to sea.
Okay.
So, but if you intend to sail, whether it's IT or whatever it is,
these documentations are a must.
Yeah. You intend to sail not as a supernumerary. What's we call supernumerary? You are not doing anything on board. You don't have any job allocated to you.
Okay.
But if you want to sail on board as a cadet, where little job will be given to you, you must have those mandatories. Yeah.
Oh. Well, it sounds like, a whole lot, but I think it's necessary to acquire some of this basic knowledge. Like you said, imagine if this person have watched this before now. You definitely know that these things are needed, and it's just, if the opportunity is there, you grab it immediately.
Yes.
Instead of going around. And you know that in Nigeria, to get your passport, sometimes it could take a longer time. So that's a very good one to mention, and I'm really glad that you've listed them accordingly. But if you want to get more of this, please get the book so you can keep reading them or keep visiting this page to watch more of it, and then you'll learn. So let's talk about routes to coming on board.
Yeah.
You said there are 3 routes.
Yeah.
What are they?
Now, so in seafaring, there is what we call STCW. We call it Standard for Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping. It's a regulation. It was a convention that every country under IMO, they are signatory to. And that basically standardize the training that you go through. It standardize how you will come into the job. All right? So irrespective of which country you are coming from, as long as that country is a signatory to that regulation, that laws applies. However, what is in STCW is a minimum requirement. So, for example, Nigeria now, what STCW says is that you must have 30 months of training before you become an officer. So what that simply means now is that Nigeria, as an authority, as a signatory to that, can decide to make their own 33 months.
Wow.
But they can't make it less than that. So they can't make it less than 30, but they can make it higher. You understand? So that is what we should know about that. So, and plus the fact that there are different little adjustments here and there. Plus, in terms of the routes,
yes.
One thing I need to say is that there is a shortage of seafarers globally.
Wow.
All right? And because there's a shortage of seafarers, each country has every administration, the administration or flag state, as the case may be, that's one of the terminologies that we're using, flag state.
So what does it mean?
So the flag state basically means the administration.
Okay.
So the administration, as far as Nigeria is concerned now, when it comes to sea activity, is NEMASA.
Okay.
All right? So each flag state now, in order to meet the seafaring demands of this country, cannot develop different routes.
Okay.
They are at liberty to develop different routes. However, they still must comply with the minimum requirements of that regulation.
Okay.
So now, coming to your question of what are the routes, one of the major routes is the route of cadets.
Okay.
You come through cadetship. And in cadetship, the end product is when you go to college, the academic program has been developed. All right? So 30 months training period, part of which will include your time at sea and your time in school. Part of it will not be less than maybe 12 months. Okay? Like, for example, I will use UK, for example, because that's where I got mine from. So part of it is that you must do a minimum of 6 months at sea. All right? For a deck officer, if you want to go into deck, you must do a minimum of 12 months at sea.
Wow.
You understand?
Without a break.
You can break it down.
Okay.
But
okay.
These things are documented in your discharge book.
Okay.
So you must have 12 months. For us, you must have 6 months engineers. So you might have, depending now, if you're having, if you want to have a combined license, because for engineers, there we have what we call steamships, and we have what we call motor ships.
Okay.
So it's just like you saying, my ship is electric, my ship is mechanical, manual.
Okay.
So electric ships and the usual one that you have. So in order for you to sail on, for example, if you have, I'm using your motor as an example now. There's a body of knowledge that you need to have that applies to that. So so you need to be trained for that. So the same thing applies on the ship. There are ships that are powered by steam, okay, and there are ships that are powered by engines, basically, and so or diesel engine, as the case may be. So you need to. So if you're having a combined license like that, you need to have 4 months seat time, 4 months here, 4 months there, so making a total of 8 months. So you need but in all, your training will be designed in such a way that you capture that require sea time, and then the academic work part is done. So there's a cadetship route. When you are done with the cadetship route, you become an officer.
Okay.
You become an officer, so you now become a fourth engineer or third officer, second officer, chief officer, a captain. That's if you're on the deck side. Or you become fourth engineer, third engineer, second engineer, and chief engineer. You understand? So that's one route. That's the cadetship route.
Okay.
And of course, part of major challenge that people have been having is the issue of placement on board. How do I get placement on board to do my seat time? That has actually been a challenge. Okay. The grace that some of us had was the fact that we had a scholarship that has taken care of all that.
All of those.
But the fact still remains that this is still a challenge. Okay. You understand? There is a challenge for people to get ships where they will have the seat time. You understand? And so that's one route. There is also the experienced seafarers route. You understand? There's an experienced seafarers route which allows you to start from the bottom. You understand? Again, this is subject to what the administration allows. So if your administration thinks, that's the flag states, if your administration thinks that we need more people to come into this job, and right now we are not having enough manpower, and this cadetship route is not enough to give us to, so then we have to discover another route. The experienced route is now, like in the UK now, the experienced route is route of people you start from the bottom. Now, as a cadet, when you come in, you are not starting from the bottom. Yes. You just come in as officer. Yes. But there are people who we call rating.
Okay.
Among the rating, there is also ranks that you have to. There are ranks that you have to go through. From you can come in as deck trainee or engine trainee, and from there you become. If you are on the deck side, from the engine trainee and deck trainee, you become JOS, junior ordinary seaman. Okay. From there you become ordinary seaman. From there, you become able-bodied seaman. Okay. From there, you now become a bosun. Do you understand? Okay. Or if it is in the engine room, you can become trainee oiler. Then you become oiler. Then trainee machinist, and you become machinist.
Wow.
You're fitter or plumb motorman, as the case may be, depending on the nature of the configuration that your ship, your company has. So that is also an approved route. Now, if you become an able-bodied seaman, or as the case may be, from there, you can become a fourth engineer, you can become a third officer, become a second officer, then become a chief officer, and then become a captain.
Wow.
You know?
But that's actually a long route.
Well, it appears long. The reason why it appears long is actually because many people actually their mind is always fixed on, I have to be a cadet, I have to go in as a cadet, you know? But in some countries, this is actually an acceptable route. I have seen people who started very, very early. They started from the scratch, and they become captain. And they are still even very young as a captain. They are not old.
Wow.
All right? I've sailed with people like that. I mean, even a captain that is even younger than myself. Okay? I'm older. When we say together, I'm older than him.
Okay.
All right? He started, when I figure, he started early. And one of the benefits of this route is the fact that it makes you to become, in terms of experiential flexibility. Okay? Experiential dexterity you have. Okay? Because when you're going through this route, you learn all the basics. How to chip, how to paint, how to do all those. If you are on the engine side, you know how to weld, you know how to do this, you know how to do that. You understand? So when you now become an officer, it's a combination for you.
Wow.
So it's not like maybe, you become an officer, you don't know how to weld, and then somebody will now ask somebody to do this, he will do something for you. You cannot say, no, that's not what I want, this is what I want. So that route it appears to have taken long, but that route actually it gives you experiential flexibility. And depending on your understanding, if you follow that route quickly, you will find yourself on top in no time. You just plan and you start saving up for it. Just apply to one company as a rating, training rating, and you can start your career from there as well. You understand?
So beautiful. You know, when you're talking about these various routes, and I start thinking, okay, so um, if I decide to go and start from the rating,
Okay, let me now bring it to you now. Again, this is the beauty of it, in the sense that each administration, they carved out something that suits their system.
okay,
You understand? So now, I don't know what is in place in Nigeria in terms of this particular one that I'm going to share, but there's also what we call graduate routes.
okay,
Graduate routes, in the sense that you didn't study marine engineering from school, you didn't study nautical science from
yes,
school.
yeah,
You are a graduate in a different field. So what you do, in the UK, I've seen this again and again. So you see somebody study electrical and electronics. Let me use that for example. So what they do, you reach out to this administration. They will now say, okay, based on this course that you have studied, this particular course, since it's an engineering course, it has taken care of certain
yes,
engineering requirements that we will need.
absolutely.
And so they will make certain deduction and give you certain exemptions. And so,
Okay.
okay, based on this and this that you have done, all you need to do is this and this and this. Then they will now say, okay, you still need to do this 6 months seat time. Do you see that? So you study mechanical engineering in school, you study electrical engineering in school, or I study product engineering, or process engineering, you can still come in. All right? All you need to do is you reach out to the administration. If you are in Nigeria, you reach out to NIMASA. If you are in UK, you reach out to MCA. So I said, oh, this is what I have. I've seen somebody who studied electrical engineering, and they reach out to them and they work out something for him.
Wow.
You understand? So you don't necessarily have to go and start from the bottom. But what is most important, you still have to go to sea and get your training. Okay? So which is where the main job is.
Now you've heard all the routes available. So it means that you can't be left out. There is an opportunity, endless opportunity for you, if this is what your passion is about and you want to find a career in the maritime industry. So you can literally get into it through the routes that he had just mentioned. So let's talk about levels of responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, what are the levels of responsibilities that a seafarer or a seaman, as it were, should be looking at?
All right. So, I've mentioned all those ranks from the
Yes,
bottom of the
yes,
water.
yes,
So,
you have.
as per STCW, there are 3 levels of responsibility.
Okay.
And basically is a grouping of ranks. You understand? And as it goes up, the responsibility increases. So, there's what we call supportive level.
Okay.
Supportive level are the ratings, like we mentioned. They are to assist. They are to assist other ranks. They are
So
to
we call them like junior. They are like the junior staff in our ward.
Yeah, you
But
can
in
call
that
them
industry,
junior.
is the ratings they refer
Yeah,
to them
so
as.
you can call them the rank and file
Okay.
of if you are to be in the army, so to say.
Okay.
So they are the rank and file. So for them to become a rating, you don't need to have marine engineering. You don't need to go to maritime school. Unlike the cadets. So,
Yeah.
so these ones, they basically will assist other ranks. Oh, help me bring that one. Help me bring this one. Clean this, chip this. Those are so they are serving in a supportive level.
Okay.
So then there's what we call operational level. Operational level is the level you enter as a cadet when you finish from college. You enter as an officer. Only officers can be in operational level. So at that point, basically you take charge of watches. For those who have not been on the ship, what we practice is we have watches,
Okay.
especially if we're on the deck side. And if you're a Christian, you appreciate the word watches more. You understand? So watches, they keep watches on the deck. Okay, we keep watches. So it is the responsibility of people within this level to now maintain watches. All right, so they maintain watches. So on the deck side now, you see that somebody will keep a watch from 12 to 4. Another person will keep a watch from 4 to 8.
Yes.
Another one from 8 to 12. And then they continue in
Round
circle
the
like
clock.
that. All right. So the people in this category are junior officer primarily.
Okay.
And so the supportive level, they assist them in doing their job as well. All right. And then the highest rank is, or the highest level of responsibility is the management level.
Okay.
Management level basically comprises of the captain, the chief engineer, the second engineer, and the chief officer. All right. So these are the ones that are in charge of department. They are the one in charge of the department, more like decision makers
Within that,
within the ship atmosphere. Okay, they are the one that makes the decision. Okay, and of course, as you grow up, what you notice is that responsibility increases.
right.
All right, responsibility increases, expectation also increases. In fact, the certification that you require to also increases as you go up.
Wow.
Right, so as junior level, there are certain certification that you need to have, at the junior level that you will be fine. All right, but when you are going to go to the management level, that certification will not carry you there. And if you don't pay attention to your documentation, your certification can limit you.
Wow.
All right. For example, the certificate that you have when you became an officer, when you finish your cadetship program, that certificate must be upgraded for you to come to the management level. So it doesn't matter how many years you spend. If you don't have that certificate, you are not going. You'll still be there. All right. So it's important for seafaring. If you are going to advance in your career, certification is something you cannot joke with.
Wow. We just talked about the 3 levels of responsibilities right now, and I wish we can still delve more, but just to make sure that this keeps getting interesting, we will be ending this particular episode here for today. But don't forget, we're still talking about Unveiling the Mysteries of the Sea, a book that was written by Joshua Oyetunde, a seasoned seaman, and it's now available on seller.co. Another book is coming up, but next week we'll be delving into career paths, ashore, choice of license, and of course, career advices. I'm sure this one is going to be interesting. That's why I decided to leave it, because it's like another interesting part after we talk about the benefits and the risk. So get ready, get prepared. We'll be looking at these 3 and other topics in the next episode of the conversation. I know if I allow you, we'll still keep talking about these these topics, but then thank you so much for coming through today. When we meet next, we'll be looking at career paths ashore. Awesome. And then, I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah.
So when we come back next time, but please don't forget that you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, Joshua Oyetunde on YouTube, and get the book as well on seller.co. The book title is Unveiling the Mysteries of the Sea by Joshua Oyetunde. Please make sure you set your notification button for next episode, and ensure that the button is you click on the notification button, so you get notified. It's been a pleasure being the host of this. My interest in the sea is sort of building up. Like I used to say, at the end of the day, I might end up becoming a seaman. See you in the next episode, and thank you to our production crew for making this very, very possible.